Hello, class. This is Randy Gaines. Um, this is our fourth video. I'm referencing the care coordination, the game changer, how nursing is revolutionizing quality care by Lamb 2014. And I'm going to talk about my project, the needs of my population, um, just advocating and educating our practicing nurses about our special population and their care across the continuum. How can you or your team better assist in the care coordination for your patients? And what stresses do your patients experience? What it's like for them to access care and who pays? So, my project is based out of one of the local churches. Um, the pastor is D. Ellison, and it's in Salisbury because that's where I live. And so, what I decided to do after talking to her was, well, I talked to her, but it's a group of other people in the community because I actually thought to use the college campus that's nearby too, but change stream a little bit. Um, so how I decided once I had the conversation with the the pastor and a couple of other people that are in a separate group. Um, we were actually talking about childhood traumas um, and some of the distrust that the black community has for healthcare and shoot, not just healthcare, law enforcement, couple of pretty big distrust things going on that make getting help not a reality for some people. So, what we plan or have been planning on doing is trying to do programming regarding sexual health and positive body image and having uncomfortable conversations with teenagers. Well, school age to teenagers, like going about to go to college. Everyone is not comfortable having the sex talk, or not necessarily the sex talk, but talking about sex at all. Um, and we discussed pretty heavily the fact that most kids learn stuff. Well, first off, a lot of people are learning stuff earlier and earlier, like they are just being saturated by sexual content. Ridiculous. And now they're gonna start putting it in Disney movies. I guess I don't know. It's super weird. But anyway, and some people's introduction to sex has been through molestation, and it's something that's not talked about. Um, I don't think really in many communities, but especially in the black community, a lot of stuff gets swept under the rug because people, the attitude is either people aren't going to believe me, um, or since it happens when the person is so young, they didn't know that there was necessarily a problem. And unfortunately, like sometimes the response is, well, just pray about it. Sometimes people don't believe the kid when they say that they've been touched, or and sometimes it's a family member or a close friend. Sometimes they rally around the molester, or they just like, oh well, he's just not invited, or he can come around. Um, but we're just gonna make sure we watch the kids as opposed to putting him in jail, or turning him into law, him, her, because it is some females that have females rape males too, um and males rape males. So I mean, it's the whole spectrum is open right now. um and it's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, or it's so taboo still that people just refuse to talk about sex. And even when they do talk about it, it's don't do it. Um, so we want to change that dialogue. So when we were talking about how to have this conversation and developing a tool, um, the plan is to do an assessment or do a survey, then do individual assessments. And if while doing the assessment we were to find out that somebody has been molested or whatever, um, having the proper people in place to actually be able to take the next step, whether it be law enforcement, social services, um, whatever the next step for what's going on. Um, so when we were planning it, we were pretty clear on the survey part, but it was more so, do we ask direct questions, because some of these kids are younger. The age that I have are middle school to seniors in high school, according to the community that's around us. So the community, it has the kids that actually go to the church, but there's also a community like surrounding the church that the church actually provides services to. So we were trying to figure out how to ask the questions without the kids feeling like they were being interrogated. It's already an uncomfortable conversation for them to have. Plus, we have to worry about building rapport and all that other stuff. So we had to make the interview itself more of a conversation. So we're asking the questions, but more of a, you know, for example, if I want to ask, like, so, how many people live at your house? When I was coming up, I lived with this and this, and sometimes I went over here. So we try to make it like a relatable conversation, so it's more of a conversation as opposed to an inquisition. Um, so we're hoping that that dialogue, and again, it's not just a straight answer question 1 through 8, and then we're gonna analyze and tell you something. No, it's not that way at all. So there are questions, but it's more of a conversational question asking. So we're hoping that will make it easier for the kids to open up and be honest. And of course, we will be doing group activities. However, the initial assessments and stuff are private, and the plan when we do our group conversations is just basically telling them, how to be confident, because you can tell somebody to be confident, but they might not know what that means. It's a lot of adults that don't know what that means, and how do you do it, and if you you know some of the people where they're from, people tease them for odd things. Some people tease people for hair textures, and, oh well, you have a afro, or your hair isn't like this. It's very basic to some other people, but it's very big to people in the black community. Our hair is a big part of who we are, and appearance is a big part of what people are. So if you have people that are constantly talking about something about the way you look, it can drive your self-esteem into the ground, and we're trying to fix some of these issues or talk about them, and try to get them to understand that there is something special about you, and we want to provide safe places and teach you skills to say no, and also give you a safe place to report stuff if something does not line up with that, and that you will be believed and you will be helped. So that's the point of the project. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. So part of that was also getting get looking at the links and videos and stuff. So I actually was able to retrieve quite a few videos about mental health and um, adult survivors and of child abuse, which I think I can add to to this so you can see them if you wish to do so. Um, the other thing is I started compiling a list of the community resources according to the North Carolina Department of Administration and what was the other one? And RAIN, which is Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and they're responsible for the National Sexual Assault Hotline, and it's through the Department of Defense. So, compiling those plus the pastor has community. She has been in this community forever at this point in time, longer than I've been alive. Um, and part of us discussing this was because, again, it's a problem, but it just so happens that both of us, I think, plus her daughter, um, had some molestation ish or were molested as children. So I had an incident with my next door neighbor, um, where he was molesting me like I was little. But I didn't remember it till like years later because it was always presented to me as a game. So I didn't really realize there was something for me to say to my parents because it was like, oh, it's just a game. It's a secret. Well, hers was a family member, the minister, um, that she was raped by, and subsequently had a excuse me, subsequently became pregnant and had a child for. And that person didn't have charges. He just the family just kind of kept him away from everybody. I never really understood how it was hard for her to adjust for that because she had to see the person. So that's and you had a baby with the person that you shouldn't have had a baby with. Um, and her daughter was also molested. Her daughter, the baby of the minister's daughter, was molested, and as a matter of fact, then her daughter was molested by somebody else. So with them, it was like a pattern, but the person doing the molesting was not all the same person. It was like different people, and so the her daughter ended up like she's been in and out of jail. She's had a whole lot of she's had a whole lot of problems. Um, promiscuity, drug use. It was a whole gamut, and it was just because at the time this was stuff that you don't talk about, you don't fix, you whatever. It's just unheard of. As far as I believe it asked about pain, um, oh, coordination of care. Well, when it comes to that for this project, the coordination will be with the outside resources, whether it be law enforcement, social services, whoever. If we need to coordinate, because we're hoping that it won't come to that. We're hoping everybody that we talk to for now, just we can handle the self-esteem portion of the events. But if we were to have to refer them to different services, we have them on hand. Um, and the stresses about our patient's experience. Well, like I said, it's all stressful. You you don't want to talk to your family because they don't think that, or you're not going to be believed. Some people can regress pretty bad. Some people do bad in school. Some people just start withdrawing. It's a whole lot of things that go into um, being molested or raped or whatever. So it is something that we're going to try to address. And for the purpose of my project, there is no payment involved. So that part of it is pretty easy. It's a it's just gonna be a service that we try to provide as a program. No different from, I guess, like some of the people that have done the basketball midnight basketball programs and stuff like that. And so everybody seems to be really excited about it. So hopefully it goes well. We have our second meeting with the kids, as a matter of fact, this Sunday. So I guess next week I will tell you an update. So y'all have a good night, and that is it.